Dr. Amanda Clark floated near the observation window of the research ship New Horizon, watching the massive gas giant spin slowly below them. The planet's orange and red clouds swirled in patterns that reminded her of paintings she had seen. Back on Earth, she held her tablet and made notes about the atmospheric readings they had collected over the past 3 months. "Amanda, you need to see this," called Jake Martinez from the communications station. His voice carried worry that made her turn away from the beautiful view. Jake sat hunched over his control panel, pressing buttons and adjusting dials. Sparks flew from one of the circuits, and he quickly pulled his hand back. "The communication array is acting up again. I'm trying to send our weekly report to Earth Command, but the system keeps cutting out." Amanda pushed herself across the small bridge. Using handholds on the walls, the New Horizon was not a large ship. It held only 7 people, and enough supplies for their 6-month mission to study gas giants in this part of space. The ship was old but reliable, though some of its systems needed constant care. "How bad is it?" Amanda asked, looking at the smoking panel. "Pretty bad. The transmitter keeps switching frequencies on its own. I think the main crystal got damaged during that solar storm last week." Jake wiped sweat from his forehead. "I can get a signal out, but I can't control what frequency it uses." Captain Lisa Hammond floated over to join them. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm eyes that had seen many problems in her 20 years of space travel. "Can you get our report to Earth or not?" "I think so, but the message might come out broken. The system is sending everything in short bursts, instead of one clean transmission." Jake looked frustrated. "Earth Command will probably think we're having equipment problems." "We are having equipment problems," Captain Hammond said with a slight smile. "Send what you can. Earth needs to know we're still alive and doing our job." Jake nodded and began typing their weekly report. The New Horizon had been sent to study the atmospheres of 3 gas giants in this system. They collected samples of gases, measured temperatures, and recorded how the planet's weather patterns changed. It was important work, but not exciting enough to make the news back home. "Atmospheric analysis continuing as planned," Jake typed. "Unknown compositions found in upper cloud layers. Immediate assistance required for proper classification." Meant they needed better equipment from Earth to identify some of the stranger gases they had found. The communication system sparked again, and Jake cursed under his breath. "It's sending the message in pieces. Hopefully Earth Command can put it together when they receive it." Across the bridge, Chief Engineer Ryan Porter emerged from a maintenance hatch, his uniform covered in grease and his tools floating behind him. Ryan was a big man who could fix almost anything, but even he looked frustrated with their current problems. "The main power coupling is shot," Ryan announced. "I can keep us running, but we're going to lose some systems until I can rebuild it. Might take a few days." "Which systems?" Captain Hammond asked. "Probably the long-range sensors, and maybe the communication receiver. We can still send messages out, but we won't be able to hear anything coming back until I get new parts installed." Amanda felt a small worry grow in her stomach. Being cut off from Earth always made her nervous, even though they were perfectly safe out here. Nothing dangerous lived in empty space. Between gas giants, the rest of the crew continued their work around the ship. Dr. Kevin Ross was in the lab, studying gas samples they had collected that morning. Dr. Sarah Bailey worked in the computer center, processing data about wind patterns on the planet below. Engineer Tracy Wilson helped Ryan with repairs in the engine room. They were a good team. Amanda had worked with most of them before on other research missions. They knew their jobs, and did them well without drama or complaints. It was exactly the kind of crew needed for long missions far from Earth. "Message sent," Jake reported. "Well, I have no idea what it will look like when Earth Command receives it. The system chopped it up pretty badly. They'll figure it out," Captain Hammond said. "Earth Command deals with damaged transmissions all the time. Ships break down. That's just part of space travel." Amanda returned to her observation window. The gas giant continued its slow rotation, completely unaware that tiny humans orbited above it, studying its secrets. She wondered what Earth's Command would think when they received Jake's broken message. Probably just another routine equipment failure report. The ship vibrated slightly as Ryan worked on the power systems. Lights flickered on and off across the bridge. Tracy's voice came over the intercom from the engine room. Sorry about the power fluctuations. We're rerouting through backup systems while Ryan rebuilds the main coupling. No problem, Captain, Hammond replied. Take your time and do it right. Amanda made more notes on her tablet. They had discovered some interesting gas mixtures in the planet's atmosphere. Nothing dangerous or valuable, just scientifically curious. The kind of small discoveries that help scientists back on Earth understand how planets formed and changed over millions of years. She had no way of knowing that their broken transmission was already traveling through space toward receivers that were not on Earth. The damaged communication system had broadcast their message on frequencies used by other intelligent species that would not understand what the humans meant. When they mentioned atmospheric analysis and unknown compositions and immediate assistance required, the New Horizon continued its orbit around the gas giant. Its crew worked quietly, at their jobs collecting data and maintaining their ship. They planned to finish their studies within a week and then begin the long journey back to Earth. None of them knew that their simple equipment failure had just triggered the largest military mobilization in galactic history. Monitoring technician Zara 7 felt her forearms tremble as she read the emergency transmission for the third time. The insect-like alien worked the night shift at Kepler Station, the Galactic Collective's main communication hub. In her 12 years of service, she had never received anything like this message. The transmission came in broken pieces, each fragment more terrifying than the last. Atmospheric analysis, unknown compositions, immediate assistance required. The signal originated from a sector of space controlled by the species called humans. The collective knew very little about humans, except that they came from what scientists called a Deathworld. Zara 7's compound eyes focused on her superior's office across the monitoring room. She needed to report this immediately, but part of her hoped she was wrong about what the message meant. Perhaps the translation software had made an error. Perhaps this was not what it appeared to be. She pressed the emergency alert button. Within minutes, Station Commander Vexstar arrived at her workstation. The tall, blue-skinned Altarian moved with the quick steps of someone who had been awakened from sleep. His large black eyes showed concern as he read the message. Are you certain this is accurate? Commander Vexstar asked. I ran the translation protocol 4 times. The message is badly damaged, but the meaning seems clear. Someone is using atmospheric weapons against the human population. Zara 7's voice clicked with nervous energy. Commander Vexstar studied the data on her screen. The signal had traveled across many light years to reach them. By the time they received it, whatever was happening to the humans might already be finished. Send this to Admiral Kethfer immediately. Mark it as a Category 1 emergency. The commander's blue skin had turned pale. And contact the Galactic Council. They need to know about this. The message reached Admiral Kethfer aboard his flagship in the Rigel system. The military leader belonged to a species known for their strength and honor in battle. His people had served as peacekeepers for the Collective for over 200 years. Admiral Kethfer read the human transmission and felt cold anger in his chest. He had seen the aftermath of atmospheric weapons before. Entire planets could be poisoned, leaving billions of people to suffer and die slowly. The fact that someone would use such weapons against any species filled him with rage. He called his senior officers to an emergency meeting. Captain Jashera of the cruiser Starlight and Captain Morden of the destroyer Vengeance joined him via communication link from their ships. We have received a distress call from human space, Admiral. Kethfer began. It appears they are under attack with atmospheric weapons. We must respond immediately. Captain Jashara's expression showed shock. Atmospheric weapons? Who would dare use such terrible things? We do not know. The message was badly damaged, but we cannot wait for more information. If humans are dying, we must help them. The Admiral's voice carried the weight of command. Sir, what do we know about humans? Asked Captain Morden. Our intelligence files are limited. Admiral Kethfer activated a holographic display that showed what the Collective knew about humanity. The information was frightening. Humans came from a planet with crushing gravity that would kill most species. Their atmosphere contained oxygen, a gas so reactive it would burn the lungs of any collective species that breathed it. Their planet's surface was covered with a liquid that could dissolve metal. They called their world Earth, the Admiral explained. It is classified as a Class 12 death world. It's the most dangerous type of planet where life can exist. The holographic display showed images that intelligence agents had gathered about human society. Cities filled with millions of people living in structures that rose high into their poisonous sky. Vehicles that moved at incredible speeds on roads made of stone. Most disturbing of all, evidence that humans had developed weapons that could split atoms and destroy entire cities. Look at this data about their physical capabilities, Admiral Kethfer continued. They can survive in temperatures that would freeze most of us solid or boil us alive. They heal from injuries that would kill other species. They can go days without food or water. Captain Jashara studied the information with growing worry. Someone is attacking these humans with atmospheric weapons. Who could be powerful enough to threaten such a dangerous species? That is what concerns me most. The Admiral replied, anyone who can attack humans successfully must have incredible military power. They might threaten other collective worlds next. On Centauri Prime, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. Representatives from 43 different species gathered in the Great Meeting Hall. Ambassador Tissara of the Altarian diplomatic corps stood at the center of the chamber, presenting the human distress call to the assembled delegates. The message speaks of atmospheric analysis and unknown compositions, she explained to the council. Our experts believe this indicates the use of exotic chemical weapons. The humans are requesting immediate assistance. Councillor Drexfin of the Aquatic Federation raised one of his tentacles to speak. What do we know about the attackers? Are they a threat to other collective worlds? We have no information about who is attacking the humans, Ambassador Tissara replied. But consider, humans evolved on one of the most dangerous worlds in known space. If someone can successfully attack them, they possess military capabilities beyond anything we have seen. The council chamber filled with worried murmurs from dozens of different species. Many had heard stories about Deathworld species, but none had imagined they might witness the destruction of one. Dr. Veltar, the collective's chief scientist, stood to address the council, his elderly frame supported by mechanical aids that helped him move despite his advanced age. I have studied the available data about humans, Dr. Veltar announced. They are perhaps the most physically capable species we have encountered. Their world has survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and asteroid impacts. The humans living there have adapted to threats that would extinct most civilizations. He activated a display showing Earth's violent history. They have survived plagues that killed millions of their own people. They have recovered from wars that destroyed entire continents. If such a species is calling for help, the situation must be desperate beyond imagination. Councillor Thanaris of the Silicon Collective spoke with a voice like grinding stone. What does the collective military recommend? Admiral Kethfer's image appeared on the main communications screen. I am assembling a rescue fleet from all available ships in nearby systems. We must assume the worst-case scenario. If humans are facing extinction, we may be the only force capable of providing assistance. How many ships? Asked Ambassador Tissara. 200 vessels from 12 different species. Medical ships, transport vessels, and enough military power to face whatever enemy can threaten a Deathworld species. The Admiral's voice carried grim determination. The Council voted unanimously to authorize the rescue mission. Ships began moving toward the rally point in the Vega system from across collective space. Captains who had never worked together before prepared to face an enemy powerful enough to attack humans in the medical centers of a dozen worlds. Doctors prepared for casualties unlike anything they had ever treated. Human biology was so different from other species that treating wounded humans would require completely new procedures. The collective's greatest minds worked to understand what kind of weapons could poison the atmosphere of an entire planet. Military planners developed strategies for fighting an enemy with such terrible capabilities as the rescue fleet assembled. One question haunted everyone involved. If someone could successfully attack humans on their death world, what hope did the rest of the galaxy have against such a powerful enemy? Ships gathered at Vega, preparing for what might be the most important battle in collective history. They were sailing toward Earth to save humanity, not knowing that the humans were peacefully conducting research on gas giants, completely unaware that help was coming. Lieutenant Commander Steve Baker rubbed his tired eyes and stared at the sensor display again. He had been working the night shift at Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station for 6 hours, and the readings still made no sense. The massive contact. Signatures moving toward the outer rim should not exist. Computer-run diagnostic on long-range sensors, Steve commanded. Diagnostic complete. All systems functioning normally, the computer replied in its calm voice. Steve felt his stomach tighten. If the sensors were working correctly, then something huge was heading toward Earth's solar system. The contact showed not one ship, but hundreds of them. Ships using technology that human science said was impossible. He reached for the emergency communication. Panel in contacted Fleet Admiral Nancy Torres at Earth Defense Command. The Admiral answered immediately, despite the early hour. "This better be important, Baker," Admiral Torres said. Her voice carried the authority of someone who had spent 30 years protecting Earth from threats. "Ma'am, we're tracking a massive fleet of unknown ships heading toward our system. The readings show technology far beyond anything we have." Steve sent the sensor data to her personal display. Admiral Torres studied the information for several long minutes. Steve could hear her breathing as she processed what she was seeing. The ships moved faster than any human vessel could travel. Their energy signatures suggested power sources that produced more energy than entire cities. "How many ships?" she asked. "Computer estimates over 200 contacts, ma'am. Various sizes, but some of them are huge. Bigger than anything we've ever built. Time to intercept." Steve checked his calculations. At their current speed, they'll reach the outer planets in approximately 18 hours. Admiral Torres was quiet for another moment. Steve knew she was thinking about Earth's defenses. Humanity had built a respectable space navy over the past 50 years. But it was designed to handle threats from other human colonies or asteroid miners who turned to piracy. Nothing had prepared them for contact with alien technology. "Alert all stations. I want every ship captain and department head in the situation room in 2 hours. And Baker." "Yes, ma'am." "Keep monitoring those contacts. If they change course or speed, I want to know immediately." Steve spent the next 2 hours watching the alien fleet approach. The ships maintained perfect formation and steady speed. Whatever they wanted, they were in no hurry to get it. That somehow made the situation more frightening at Earth Defense. Command Admiral Torres stood before a room full of her top officers. The Situation Room's main screen showed the approaching fleet as red dots against the starfield. Each dot represented technology that humanity could not match. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are facing our first confirmed contact with extraterrestrial intelligence, and it does not appear to be friendly." Admiral Torres activated detailed scans of the alien ships. "These vessels are using propulsion systems our physicists say are impossible. Some of them are over 3 kilometers long." Colonel Pete Williams, Earth's expert on theoretical alien contact, raised his hand. "Ma'am, have we attempted communication? We've sent signals on every frequency we can generate." No response. "Either they don't want to talk, or they can't understand our transmissions." Captain Danny Mitchell, commander of Earth's largest battleship, studied the tactical display. "What are our options, Admiral? Limited? Our entire space fleet consists of 37 ships. Most of them are patrol vessels or cargo haulers with added weapons. We have exactly 5 ships that were built specifically for combat." The room filled with uncomfortable silence. Everyone understood the mathematics of the situation. Earth's military was designed to handle human threats. Pirates, rebel colonies, or corporate security forces. Not alien invasions. Dr. Alan Foster, the military's chief linguist, entered the room carrying a tablet full of data. His face showed excitement mixed with worry. "Admiral, we've managed to intercept some of their communications. The translation is rough, but I think we have fragments of their language." "What are they saying?" Admiral Torres asked. Dr. Foster read from his tablet. "References to genocide, extinction events, and something called Deathworlder containment protocols. They also mention rescue operations and refugee camps." Colonel Williams frowned. "Rescue operations? Are they here to help someone? That's what confuses me, Doctor, Foster replied. Some of their communications sound like they're planning a military operation. Others sound like they're organizing humanitarian aid. Admiral Torres studied the translation data. Could they be here to rescue someone from Earth? Possible, but who? And rescue them from what? Doctor. Foster shook his head. There's something else. The word they use most often translates as Deathworlder. They seem to be very afraid of Deathworlders. Captain Mitchell laughed without humor. Maybe they think Earth is more dangerous than it actually is. Or maybe they know something we don't, Admiral Torres replied. Either way, we need to be ready for anything. The Admiral turned to address the entire room. I'm ordering full mobilization of all Earth defense forces. Every ship, every crew, every weapon we have. If these aliens want to fight, we'll give them one. Ma'am, Colonel Williams said carefully, are we sure that's wise? If they have superior technology, attacking them might be suicide. Let them do whatever they want. To Earth without resistance? Admiral Torres' voice carried steel. Humanity didn't survive this long by surrendering to superior force. President Helen Davis joined the meeting via secure communication from the White House. Her image appeared on the Situation Room's secondary screen. Admiral, what's the status of our defenses? Madam President, we're outgunned and outmatched. But we're not helpless. Our ships are fast, and our crews are well-trained. If we're smart about this, we might be able to make them reconsider attacking us. Secretary of Defense Carl Johnson appeared on screen next to the President. What about evacuation procedures? Should we begin moving people away from major cities? To where? Admiral Torres asked. If they can cross interstellar space, they can probably reach anywhere on Earth. Our best chance is to meet them in space, away from the planet. The President looked tired. The weight of making decisions that could affect all humanity showed on her face. Admiral, I'm authorizing you to take whatever action you think necessary to protect Earth, but try to avoid starting a war if possible. Understood, Madam President. As the meeting ended, Admiral Torres gave orders to mobilize Earth's entire space fleet. Crews rushed to their ships, many of them leaving families behind without knowing if they would ever see them again, Captain. Mitchell prepared his battleship Independence for what might be humanity's final battle. His crew loaded every weapon they had and ran final checks on all systems. The ship's reactor hummed with power as they prepared to face technology far beyond their understanding in the Deep Space Monitoring Station. Steve Baker watched the alien fleet continue its approach. Ships maintained their perfect formation, showing no sign of hostile intent, but also no indication they were friendly. Earth's military prepared for first contact with alien intelligence. 37 human ships against over 200 alien vessels. The odds were terrible, but humanity had survived worse before. As Earth's fleet moved to intercept positions, Admiral Torres stood on the bridge of the Independence and wondered what the aliens wanted. Were they here to conquer Earth? Rescue someone? Or was this all a terrible misunderstanding that would cost millions of lives? The two fleets were now on a collision course. Within hours, humanity would learn whether they were facing their greatest enemy or their greatest opportunity. Either way, everything was about to change forever. The two fleets faced each other in the cold darkness between Jupiter and Saturn. Admiral Nancy Torres stood on the bridge of the Independence, watching the alien ships through the main viewer. The enemy fleet stretched across space like a city of lights, each vessel glowing with energy signatures that made her ship's sensors scream warnings. Range 2 million kilometers in closing, reported Lieutenant Sarah Kim from the tactical station. Their lead ships are larger than our biggest space stations. Admiral Torres kept her voice steady despite the fear growing in her chest. Open a channel to Admiral Kethfer. Let's see if we can talk to them before someone starts shooting. Cross the void. Admiral Kethfer stood on the bridge of his flagship Harmony's Light. The Rigelian commander studied the human fleet through his own displays. The human ships were small and primitive compared to collective technology, but something about them made him nervous. They move with purpose, Captain Jashara observed from her position at the weapons console. Look at their formation. Those are military vessels arranged for battle. Of course they are, Admiral Kethfer replied. They think we are the enemy. That attacked their world. They probably believe we are here to finish what someone else started. Dr. Veltar, who had joined the rescue fleet as an advisor, moved closer to the main display. Admiral, I am detecting something unusual about their ships. The metal composition suggests they were built in high gravity, much higher than any world in the collective. How much higher? Admiral Kethfer asked. 3 times our standard gravity, perhaps more. Dr. Veltar's voice carried wonder and fear. These ships were built by beings who live in crushing weight that would kill most of us instantly. On the Independence, Dr. Alan Foster worked frantically to establish communication with the alien fleet. His translation computers processed every signal the aliens sent, trying to find patterns that made sense. I'm getting something, Dr. Foster announced. Basic mathematical concepts. They're trying to establish a common language. Admiral Torres nodded. Put them through the main speakers. The alien voice that came through the speakers sounded like grinding metal mixed with musical tones. The translation computer worked to convert the sounds into words humans could understand. Human. Vessels. We are Admiral Kethfer of the Galactic Collective Rescue Fleet. We received your distress signal about atmospheric weapon attacks. What is the status of your population centers? Admiral Torres felt confusion replace some of her fear. Atmospheric weapon attacks? What are you talking about? Your transmission spoke of atmospheric analysis and unknown compositions. We understand. That your world is under attack, we've come to provide assistance and refugee transport. Captain Danny Mitchell, standing beside Admiral Torres, whispered, They think someone attacked Earth with chemical weapons? Admiral Torres spoke into the communication system. Admiral Kethfer, there has been no attack on Earth. Our world is safe. We don't know what transmission you received, but we are not under attack. The silence that followed lasted nearly a full minute. When Admiral Kethfer's voice returned, it carried confusion and disbelief. You are not under attack. But the transmission clearly indicated atmospheric weapons deployment and requests for immediate assistance. We sent no such transmission, Admiral Torres replied firmly. Earth Defense Command has sent no distress signals of any kind. On the Harmony's light, Admiral Kethfer turned to his communications officer. Me the exact transmission. We received. The bridge display showed the broken message that had started everything. Atmospheric analysis, continuing as planned.
Unknown compositions found in upper cloud layers.
Immediate assistance required for proper classification.
Dr. Veltar read the message several times before understanding hit him like physical blow.
Admiral, I believe we may have made a terrible mistake. What do you mean? Look at the words again. It's not as a distress call, but as a scientific report. It's atmospheric analysis. It's unknown compositions. Assistance required for classification.
Doctor?
Veltar's voice grew quiet. This sounds like a research mission requesting help with identifying gas samples. Admiral Kethfer felt his blood turn cold. Are you saying we mobilized the entire collective rescue fleet because of a research report? Before Dr. Veltar could answer, a new voice broke into their communications. This one came from a much smaller ship that had just entered the area. Both fleets. This is Dr. Amanda Clark, aboard the research vessel New Horizon. I think I know what happened here. Admiral Torres looked at her tactical display. A tiny ship had appeared between the two massive fleets. It was so small that her sensors had almost missed it completely. New Horizon, identify yourself, Admiral Torres ordered. We're a civilian research vessel studying gas giant atmospheres. 3 days ago, our communication system malfunctioned while sending our weekly report to Earth Command. Chopped up and sent on the wrong frequencies. Admiral Kethfer spoke directly to Dr. Clark. You sent the transmission about atmospheric analysis and unknown compositions? Yes, sir. We were reporting our research findings and asking Earth Command to send better equipment to help us identify some unusual gas mixtures we found. When our transmitter broke, the message must have gotten scrambled. The realization of what had happened spread through both fleets like wildfire. On the Independence, Captain Mitchell started laughing despite the tension. We almost started an interstellar war because of a broken radio. Admiral Torres was not laughing. 200 alien ships faced 37 human vessels, all armed and ready for battle. One mistake, one nervous weapons officer, and the situation could still turn deadly. All ships, Stand down weapon systems, she ordered over the fleet communication channel. Repeat, all ships stand down. This is not a hostile situation. Admiral Kethfer gave similar orders to his fleet, but the tension remained high. Hundreds of ships filled with nervous crews floated in the darkness, trying to process what they had just learned. Dr. Clark's small voice came over the communication system again. I'm really sorry about this. We had no idea our broken transmitter would cause so much trouble. Dr. Clark, Admiral Kethfer said carefully, would you be willing to come aboard my ship? I think we need to discuss this situation in person. Sure, but I should warn you, our life support might not be compatible. Humans need oxygen to breathe, and our gravity is pretty heavy.
Oh.
Dr. Veltar spoke up immediately.
Oh.
We can accommodate human environmental needs. Our medical bay has universal life support systems. Admiral Torres interrupted. Wait a minute. We're going to have a meeting. It should be neutral ground. Dr. Clark, would you be willing to host representatives from both fleets aboard your ship? I guess so, but the New Horizon is pretty small. We might be a little crowded. And so it was that the most important diplomatic meeting in galactic history took place aboard a tiny research vessel with a broken radio. Dr. Amanda Clark, who had spent her morning studying gas samples, suddenly found herself hosting the first official contact between humanity and alien civilization. The small research ship floated between two massive fleets. While inside its cramped laboratory, representatives of different species tried to figure out how a simple equipment malfunction had nearly caused the greatest military disaster in known history. Both Admiral Torres and Admiral Kethfer realized that what happened next would determine whether this incident became the start of a new friendship or the beginning of an interstellar war that nobody wanted. Dr. Amanda Clark floated nervously in the main laboratory of the New Horizon as two shuttles docked with her small research ship. She had never imagined that her tiny vessel would become the meeting place for first contact between humanity and alien civilization. Her hands shook slightly as she checked the environmental controls one more time. The first shuttle brought Admiral Nancy Torres and Dr. Alan Foster from Earth's fleet. The second carried Admiral Kethfer and Dr. Veltar from the collective forces. As the airlock opened, Amanda got her first look at beings from another world. Admiral Kethfer was tall and powerful, blue-gray skin and large black eyes that seemed to see everything. His movements were careful and deliberate, as if he was used to command but also aware he was in an unfamiliar situation. Dr. Veltar was older and smaller, using mechanical supports to help him move, but his eyes showed the sharp intelligence of a scientist. Welcome aboard the New Horizon, Amanda said, trying to keep her voice steady. I'm sorry about the cramped conditions. We're not really set up for diplomatic meetings. Admiral Torres looked around the small laboratory with its floating equipment and research samples. Dr. Clark, this is your ship that sent the original transmission? Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
Though I had no idea it would cause all this. Amanda gestured toward the communication station where Jake Martinez was still working on repairs.
Oh.
Jake's been trying to fix our transmitter for days. Jake looked up from his work and waved awkwardly. Sorry about nearly starting an interstellar war. The frequency modulator got fried during a solar storm. Admiral Kethfer studied the damaged equipment with interest. Your technology is quite different from ours. We use crystalline matrix communication systems. Your electromagnetic approach is fascinating. Dr. Veltar moved closer to Amanda, his mechanical supports clicking on the deck plates. Dr. Clark, may I ask what research you are conducting? The transmission mentioned atmospheric analysis. Amanda's nervousness began to fade as she talked about her work. We're studying gas giant atmospheres, measuring chemical compositions, tracking weather patterns, trying to understand how these massive planets formed billions of years ago. She activated her research displays, showing data about the planet below them. This particular world has some unusual gas mixtures in its upper atmosphere. Compounds we haven't seen before. That's why we asked Earth Command for better analytical equipment. Dr. Veltar's eyes grew wide as he studied the data. Remarkable. You found traces of exotic noble gases that we theorized about but never observed. How did you extract samples from such depth in the atmosphere? We use atmospheric probes with reinforced casings. The pressure down there would crush most equipment, but we built them tough. Amanda showed him images of the probes being deployed. Admiral Kethver looked confused. You sent equipment into the crushing depths of a gas giant atmosphere? How is that possible? Admiral Torres answered for Amanda. Human engineering tends to favor strong, simple designs. We build things to survive in harsh conditions. But that makes sense, Dr. Veltar said thoughtfully. Your species evolved on a high-gravity world with a corrosive atmosphere. Would naturally develop robust technology. Corrosive atmosphere, Dr. Foster asked. Earth's atmosphere isn't corrosive. You breathe oxygen, Dr. Veltar explained.
Oxygen is one of the most
reactive gases in the universe. Would burn the lungs of most collective species. To us, your entire planet is like living inside a chemical furnace. Amanda stared at the alien scientist. You mean we're dangerous to you just by breathing? Not dangerous, Admiral Kethver clarified. But your physical capabilities are far beyond most species. Your gravity alone would crush visitors from most collective worlds. The conversation was interrupted when Captain Danny Mitchell's voice came over the communication system. Admiral Torres, we're receiving signals from Earth Command. They want to know why our entire fleet is meeting with alien ships. Admiral Torres sighed. I suppose we need to explain this situation to both our governments. Indeed, Admiral Kethver agreed. The Galactic Council will want to understand how we nearly went to war over a research report. Dr. Clark had an idea. What if this doesn't have to be just about avoiding a war? I mean, you came here expecting to help with a scientific problem, and we actually do have scientific problems that could use help. Double quotes, Dr. Veltar looked interested. What do you mean? Well, you have technology that can travel between stars. Have experience working in conditions that would kill most species? Maybe we could help each other. Admiral Kethver considered this. The collective is always interested in new scientific perspectives. Your species obviously approaches problems differently than we do. Over the next several hours, the small group worked out the framework for what would become known as the Horizon Protocol. The agreement established scientific cooperation between humanity and the Galactic Collective. With the New Horizon serving as the first joint research vessel, Dr. Clark would become humanity's first official ambassador to the collective, while Admiral Kethver volunteered to represent collective interests in future human contact. The two fleets would return to their respective territories, but regular communication would continue. Jake Martinez finally managed to repair the communication system completely. His first successful transmission was a joint message from human and alien commanders, explaining the situation to their governments and proposing formal diplomatic relations. 6 months later, Dr. Amanda Clark stood on the bridge of the New Horizon as it emerged from hyperspace near a star system in the Andromeda galaxy. The little research ship had been upgraded with collective technology, making it the first human vessel capable of traveling between galaxies. Her crew had grown to include scientists from several alien species. Dr. Veltar had become her deputy, using his vast knowledge to guide their exploration of cosmic phenomena that humans had never seen before. Jake Martinez joked that his broken radio had become the most important equipment failure in history. The research they conducted together revolutionized science for both civilizations. Human engineering techniques allowed the construction of probes that could survive in environments no collective technology could handle. Meanwhile, alien knowledge opened up entire fields of physics that humans had never imagined. Admiral Torres and Admiral Kethver met regularly to plan joint military exercises focused on rescue and disaster relief operations. Had become close friends, often sharing meals and comparing stories of their respective military services. Earth's integration into the Galactic Collective proceeded smoothly. Humans became known throughout collective space for their scientific creativity and their ability to solve problems that had puzzled alien civilizations for centuries. Their reputation as Deathworlders transformed from something fearsome into something admirable. The incident became famous throughout the galaxy as the Great Misunderstanding. It served as a standard example in diplomatic training programs about the importance of clear communication and the dangers of making assumptions about other species. Dr. Clark often thought about how different things might have been if Jake's transmitter had worked properly that day, humanity might have remained isolated for decades or centuries longer. The collective might never have gained access to human scientific approaches that proved so valuable. As the New Horizon began its survey of a nebula where new stars were being born, Dr. Clark made a note in her research log. Sometimes the most important discoveries come from the most unexpected failures. We went looking for gas giants and found a galaxy full of friends. The story that began with a broken radio ended with humanity taking its place among the stars. Not as conquerors or victims, but as partners in the greatest scientific adventure in galactic history. And it all started because Jake Martinez couldn't fix a simple communication problem.